your lawyer is asking me to set you a bond.
Yes, sir.
I don't know. I've never met you before. I don't know who you
Order
are.
in the court.
No, my primary concern are two things. Number one, will you go back to the jurisdiction that you wanted from? Number one.
Yes, sir.
More importantly, and most importantly, are you a danger to the community? I know that you're going to tell me that you're not. Everyone says that, right? But what really dictates is how you look on paper, because that tells me who you really are. So I just don't know. We'll go through all that and we'll determine whether, I do know that you have an open evading arrest in a.
Let's be real. When a judge says, "I don't know you," but then starts flipping through your history like a menu, you know your record's doing all the talking. In court, paper isn't just paperwork. It's your profile. How much? Should it influence a bond decision?
Motor vehicle, so you're now charged with a third-degree felony. And so, all right, Amy, tell me about it.
Yeah, he's wanted from St. Lucie County in Florida.
Florida. Oh,
Yeah.
ouch.
He's wanted for a violation of probation for a grand theft of a motor vehicle. We're asking for no bond at this time. For one thing, he picked up this evading of a motor vehicle while on that probation. He has.
Is this a stolen car too? Allegedly.
I don't think he was charged with that, Judge, so I would say.
Yeah, I mean.
A prohibited
obviously.
vehicle on the toll.
But we had an earlier case today, same thing, in a stolen car, right? Allegedly, and they didn't charge him with the UUV, but they
Really?
could have.
Okay.
So it's intake, I don't know, just these days, it's,
I'm seeing prohibited vehicle on the toll. That's all.
so it is a prohibited vehicle?
On the toll.
So
I don't know.
a
But
prohibited vehicle could be a vehicle that
Yeah, it's
has
very,
outstanding
very vague.
balance. Exactly right.
Um,
Or no tags or.
What other kind of criminal history you got?
yeah, he
22 pages of criminal history? Not cases, pages. That's enough for its own court drama miniseries. Fraud, forgery, failure to appear. This isn't a few bad choices, it's a pattern. Would you trust this person to come back to court if released?
has an obscene number of fraud and forgery charges out of Florida and Georgia.
How many?
22 pages worth.
22 pages worth of criminal history?
Yes, he also has
Whoa!
several failure to appears out of Florida. He was arrested in May 3rd of 2023 for a probation violation in Florida. Of course, this probation violation is for 3 different violations for failure to report and then changing address without permission, I think.
22 pages of priors.
Well, I would say this, Judge, sometimes the one case can take up to 2 pages sometimes, so
Even by that theory.
even, I get you.
He also has misdemeanor and felony willful obstruction of law enforcement officers out of Georgia.
I'm surprised you even got probation. You know, I mean, really, it's
All the charges were trickled down to 2 counts. So there was, all those charges are the exact same charge, and they dropped it to.
22 pages worth of the exact same charge?
It was 19 charges. And they brought it down to 2. They was basically 2 charges, 2 different kind of charges, but 9 charges of each. So
It happened that would garner 19 charges. That's usually something where you have like a mass event, like a shooting or like.
no, it wasn't nothing like that.
The probation violation's original charge, which was a grand theft of a motor vehicle, he obtained that motor vehicle by
Like false
buying it.
pretenses or something?
Yeah, he tried to buy it with a false pay stub for a false company.
Judge, if I may,
Sure.
Judge, I'm not asking for a PR bond, I'm asking for, even if you consider a bond, a high bond amount that would allow him to go turn himself in. He would have skin in the game. It's a monetary sum that would ensure that he goes and turns himself in. He hasn't messed up in your court before.
Seen.
I'm sorry. And so it would allow him to at least go present himself while also understanding the risk of losing a big deal of money. So I'd say that.
Whose money? Not his money. What kind of money you got?
No doubt.
Doing what?
No detail.
You know, I'd like to afford him the opportunity to get a post that bond, if you entertain.
Well, the
giving him-
first thing I'd need to know is out of the 22 pages, What are all those, I'd like a list of like every single charge that he's ever had.
Okay.
I'd like to know the disposition of those charges.
Okay.
Because, the problem is, Mr. Jones, is that when you have too much baggage, the more baggage you have, the higher of a flight risk you are. Because you know that at some point you're going to have to answer to those charges and you're going to try to.
But I answer to all those charges.
Well, I don't know that. I know you're telling me that,
I
but
understand, but those, I handled that. That was my first real case, and I handled it.
yeah, I mean,
And
I
some
mean-
of those with the LTA and stuff, I turned myself in. It was misunderstandings with court dates and stuff like that. And it will show where I turned myself in like multiple times.
in this case here, you're trying to evade capture here. I mean, so I don't know. I'd need to know a lot more about you before I were to grant you a bond,
Like the current case, I can't speak on that right now. But
don't.
all the other cases, I turned myself in and I handled what I needed to handle.
Has he ever had a prior fugitive case before? Out of where? So Ricardo, if you want, we can do a deeper dive, or you guys can do a deeper dive and let me know more about him.
Here's the thing, Judge, I don't think here's how this, it would work. I don't have access to the 22 pages. I would love to give you the report by tomorrow. I can do that.
So
I
what
just
we can
don't
do
have
is we
those.
can ask Amy to print you out the NCIC report. Can you provide him with a copy?
I'd have to ask Dave, if that's all right with you, Judge.
There, at least at the minimum, I know that they'll let you look at the report. So you can
Right.
look at it and write it down. I don't know if they'll give you a copy of it, but at least you can look at it and we can try to work through to see all the charges of what they are,
Right.
try to find out what the
The judge starts tossing around 5 and 6-digit bond numbers. The courtroom just got real. But here's the kicker. Even if you finish your case in one state, screw up communication and another state will be waiting. It's legal whack-a-mole.
disposition, but,
I can also go through it and.
right.
Okay.
But with 22 pages of prior criminal history, I'm going to tell you now, it's a really uphill battle to get you a bond. And if I do give you a bond, it's going to be a hell of a high amount now. In the high five digits, perhaps 6 digits, because I want to make sure that you turn yourself in. And the problem is that I know that there's a hurricane out there hitting Florida. So it's a perfect time for you to give me this kind of excuse there. I couldn't make it there. I couldn't make it here because of this and that. And when here,
Okay, I'll explain to him his options, Judge. We'll go over where we're at and I'll see how he wants to proceed.
okay, but I'm going to tell you now, if I were to give you a bond, it's going to be in the high 5 digits.
Understood. Judge, my understanding is he already waived on October 8th, and so his pickup date is.
You know what? And I'm going to tell you now, we have at least 3 other people here from Florida. And I think it's Miami-Dade, right? Wasn't it Miami-Dade that we have?
Yes,
think
this
so,
one
yeah.
is St. Lucie County.
How far is that from Miami-Dade? So perhaps we can come get them to pick you up in addition to those 2, because I know that we have at least 2 transports that are coming here to pick up another 3 individuals from Florida. So maybe we can get you on that, and they're supposed to be here next week. So if you waive, or luckily, I mean, you've already waived, so great. So
I'm not trying to run from nothing. I just want to get this over with.
here's the only other advice I'm going to give you now is that if you do go back, you have to stay in contact with your felony lawyer in your felony case, because if you don't, and they think that you've absconded, they're going to issue a warrant in that case. And then the hold that you have here for your Florida stuff, it's going to happen to you over here, because you're going to be over there. And then you're going to get a Harris County hold. So when you do finish up over there, you're not going to get out.